Well, we have a visitor and goes by the name of Rudy the Boxer 101. And his comment was that game was terrible. Everything about the Super Bowl was terrible.
Oh man.
And he says professional sports is crooked, by the
Yeah.
way.
Mm.
And my question to Rudy the Boxer 101 is why was it so terrible? I mean, give me your take on why it was so terrible, because I didn't think it was that bad, other than it was just one of them low scoring games
It
from
was a
my
defensive
perspective,
game, and
where
that's what
you
I
had a
was saying.
defensive matchup and a defensive
Yeah.
struggle of button heads. So anytime you have that, you're not going to have a lot of scoring going on,
Yeah.
and we're just trying to kind of pick your brain. Rudy the Boxer 101, we're just trying to pick your brain to find out. And he also stated that NBA sucks, NFL sucks, Major Leagues Baseball sucks. So it's all professional sports. He's not, discriminating against any professional sport. And maybe he does have his reasons for it.
Well, let me
Uh,
tell them to start watching boxing or tennis, because then you got one person to complain about. These are team sports. Everyone you just mentioned is a team sport. I'm talking about an Indian tribe have their own football team, and that was unheard of. So the fact that you think these sports are suck, they're not sucking in terms of the popularity.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is the DC Stewart Show podcast. Along with McKin Folk, Isaiah, and Najee, we're doing another Monday morning, and we're doing a Super Bowl recap today. We're going to talk mostly about the game from yesterday and how we think things turned out when it came to who dominated the game. But I didn't see any complete clear dominance, but whoever controlled the game from start to finish, and kind of how, maybe the momentum shifted a little bit. We're here, like I say, on a Monday morning, no ESPN scripts, real talk, real vibing. So make sure you hit that subscribe and that like button. And I got my two best Kim folks here with me today. So we finna do some big things with this thing. Let's get it kicked off, and let's start a little bit and talk about Super Bowl 60. So Super Bowl 60, I think it lived up to most of the hype. You had two of the best teams in the NFL in there, technically from the AFC and the NFC. New England really kind of, they overachieved in a lot of ways. The Seahawks did in a way too, but New England was down and out on their luck for the past several years. I know Seattle wasn't great, but Seattle was in a building mode. And once Mike Vrabel got in there, and by the way, we congratulate Mike Vrabel with being Coach of the Year. That was a big deal. We talked about it on this show a couple of times, and we thought that it was well deserved that Mike Vrabel was the Coach of the Year, because he was going up against Ben Johnson for the Chicago Bears. He was going up against Mike McDonald, who is now the Super Bowl champion head coach at 38 years old, one of the youngest coaches to win a Super Bowl at that age. I believe Mike Tomlin, and I want to say, I can't think of the other one right off the top of my head, but they're in that same type of age range that they won the Super Bowl at such a young age. So I don't think Mike McDonald is worried about most valuable, the coach in terms of that. Coach of the Year is a good, achievement to have, but I would rather have the Super Bowl any day. And I'm pretty sure you two guys agree with me with that. With all of that said, I'd like to go ahead and congratulate Matthew Stafford as well on becoming most valuable player of the NFL. He had been in a running throughout the year, and he went up against some of the likes of Drake May and some other really viable candidates to become most valuable player. As I said all along, Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback. He's going to go down in history as one of the best quarterbacks ever to play in the NFL. So we congratulate him from this show. I'm not throwing any shade on Matt Stafford. I do believe still, in my personal opinion, Drake May did a lot to earn that achievement. But however, the NFL ruled that Matt Stafford is the winner of the most valuable player. So we'll go from there. So let's talk a little bit, and I'm going to start with you, Isaiah, about the Super Bowl. Let's go from kickoff to the very last play of the game. What did you see? What was your take on how things played out? Because it was a pretty tight game. It was a defensive struggle at the beginning.
Yeah, I've been listening to so many commentaries this morning. They're watching the same game I watch, but when you know football and you understand how the game goes, people thought it was boring. It was always boring because the game is all about executing on offense and scoring a lot of points. And that's why a lot of people consider it boring because the defensive game was on par at the first two quarters. They were going at it. It was all kick field goals. It was just kicking a bunch of field goals to get points on the board. And of course, there was only one scored of a touchdown on the other side. The Patriots only scored one touchdown, and it remained like that for quite a while, with them just only having 7 points. And of course, as the game went by, Seattle started to calculate points, and because the defense was on the field so long for the Patriots, so they started getting wore down. And then, of course, Seattle started opening up that margin. But to me, I thought it was a competitive game. Both of the teams were well coached. They made it. They beat everybody else to get there. So, you're always going to see a game like that, supposedly, where is a defensive struggle on both sides when you got teams that's not scoring, and people just felt like it was a boring game. I didn't take it like that as it being boring at all because the defense did their thing on both sides of the ball.
Absolutely. And it was a defensive ball game at first. So Najee, tell me, what did you pick up from because Seattle offense, they sputtered. I mean, in a lot of cases, they couldn't move the ball. Now we're going to get to Kenneth Walker III, because Kenneth Walker III was he was the difference in that running game for Seattle. And when he needed to get those yards, he got those yards. So tell me what your take was and what you saw from the very beginning of the game on into, the tail end of the game.
Well, I already knew it was going to be a defensive game because I watched them all season. Seahawks got, I want to say at least top three in defense, and then the Patriots is not too far from them. The only thing I knew for sure it was going to be the offense that was going to mess up because Matthew Stafford, he's the okay quarterback, but he's pretty streaky when it comes to playing against defense. Then when it came to May, I knew he was going to struggle with them too, only because he struggled with the Broncos, and that was with a second screen quarterback. Now you're talking about him playing the Seahawks when they had their quarterback, and then nobody accounted for Kenneth Walker to play the way how he played because I don't even think he had a game like that all season, let alone be in the Super Bowl. So I already knew that was going to play a part. And when Isaiah was talking about the defensive side, I already knew that, like I said, I knew it was going to be a defensive game. I didn't think it was going to start off that slow though, because the way how they opened up the kickoff, because I was like, they was moving the ball fluently. So I was like, oh snap, this could be a blowout. But then when they was held to a field goal, and then next thing you know, a field goal, and then punt, field goal. I said, oh yeah, this is going to be a slow game, right? It's not going to be high scoring at all. I was actually surprised how it picked up in the fourth quarter when it came to both teams scoring and getting their yards and completions, because Drake May didn't even look like he was going to get 150 yards, and he almost got 300 by the end of the night. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, my take is I saw Drake May, and they, according to reports, he had took a shot into his shoulder because he had some issues with his shoulder. We're not using that as an excuse. There's no excuse.
No, it was no excuse for
if you're injured, you're injured.
He was being rushed every time.
He was being rushed. So that pass rush, and Isaiah and you, as well as you, Najee, we always talk about the trenches. The trenches win football games. Yeah. Whoever can control the line of scrimmage on either side of the ball is going to win the football game, no matter which game. It could be college, it could be pro, it could be flag, it could be any of it. If you control that line of scrimmage, and it just seemed like Seattle's defense was tenacious in the trenches. And once you get a quarterback to a point where he's uncomfortable and he can't do his 3-step read, where, he backpedal 3 steps, take 3 steps, you got to check down if you have to, or you got your first, second, and third choice. Usually the third choice is the running back out of the backfield, right? I mean, you think about how football tends to operate on offense, everything is timing. Everything is a timing structured thing. And you can't recreate that in practice, even though your defense might be going all out full, and that defense is not the opposing team's defense, is what I'm trying to
at all.
say.
Because they're not trying to
So
knock his
what I
head off.
saw was a lot of discomfort on Drake May's part after he took those sacks, those first few sacks. He was like, man, I got to get out of the way because these guys are. And Mike McDonald had that defense stunning. They were standing up. They were down in 3 points. Defensive defenders were lining up on different sides, and that's all well to be expected. Correct, Isaiah?
He confused them a lot too, man. I'm gonna tell you right now, the Patriots started holding more so than not. You didn't see
They
too
had
many
to. They had
falls,
no choice but to
they
hold.
were holding their rear ends off. And you remember there was a couple of balls that was fumbled, and then of course hit him in the one of the big old that numbers 7 got that ball, took off down the other way. It was a good game to me, man, and to see those big guys out there having fun, and then to bring that championship back. So they got 2 of them now. Seattle has 2 championships, and it's well deserved. It was beautiful, man. I just thought the weather was perfect. Everything turned out great. The halftime show was all nice too to me, and it was just a good game for me to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great game. And the reason I say that too is it wasn't just one of those one-sided games where one team just jumped out and they just started dominating the other team. And it was just one drive after another and they were scoring like crazy. That people tend to lose interest in a Super Bowl like that. You won a Super Bowl just like yesterday. It lived up to every bit of the hype. As you said, Levi Stadium was a perfect environment for it. And we're getting it here in Los Angeles next year, 2027. It'll be here at SoFi. So we're excited about that. But the game was played at Levi. The weather was extremely perfect, in my opinion, for a football game.
Mm-hmm.
And for them to start out, now, here's some of the deciding factors that I was looking at. I was looking at whether Drake May, if he did have enough time, did he check down to the right people? Do you think so, Najee?
Yeah, I mean, he was limited to what he was able to do, man. He literally was.
So he had Stephon Diggs,
Stephon Diggs
on one side.
He had one catch for 3 quarters, bro.
That is insane.
Exactly. So I knew for one thing that was going to definitely happen. I knew Smith Jackson wasn't going to get off for Seattle, and I knew Stephon Diggs wasn't going to get off for the Patriots. I knew that was going to happen. Because I was just looking at just the bets alone of the up and under. And then I seen they had Jackson Smith for like 90-something yards. I'm like, he's not going to get that, not in the Super Bowl, not against this team, because the Patriots defense is actually pretty good. The only thing is the offense was not going to prevail over what Seattle had to bring to the table.
Yeah. And to have a star receiver like Diggs, and I'm not blaming Diggs because, like I said, it's a timing issue. If you got those defenders, everything is about, from the defense perspective, of getting in there on a quarterback before he can even release the ball. And that's the key. That's the ultimate key. It's always been that way in football, and it's going to stay that way. I mean, Chicago did it in 1985 with that defense that Buddy Ryan had. And a lot of other defenses, look, we get to him, there ain't going to be no problems because he cannot release the ball. And that's the ultimate philosophy of defenses. Now, you shotgun a quarterback on the offensive side of that to try to rebut some of that. You shotgun him, that gives him an extra time once the ball is hiked. He has a chance to visualize what he's looking at a lot faster than the defenders are rushing in there on him under the center. And they pretty much gave that up a long time ago. Isaiah, how far back do you remember when they gave up quarterbacks going directly under the center unless they're going to just hand it off to a running back or a fullback? Well, it's been decades,
it's
right?
It's a matter of how the offensive coordinator want to run an offense, man, because it has its pros and cons. Because if you sit in the shotgun, a smart defensive coordinator going to have a delayed stunt where he's tricking you into thinking you got time, and he will stun a safety in there and clobber your ass. And that's what happened a couple times too. They had some stunts coming from the side, and then they had some middle stunts coming from the inside. And he thought he had time to throw the ball. Next thing you know, somebody was in his face because it was a couple plays where Seattle defense was pushing the lineman into the quarterback who was
Yes.
already in his drop, man. And when he did that, that was one of the interceptions that they got too, because he had pushed that offensive line all the way to the quarterback. And when he tried to proceed with the ball to pass it, they just bumped his arm and it was an interception. They took it in for 6. It was, that right there was just a flat out powerhouse move that the defense played on them to push that lineman all the way in there, just drove him all the way to the quarterback, and then he tried to throw the ball anyway, and it got kind of bumped his elbow, and the ball went right into the lineman's hand. He took off with it, man, and one thing I say about offensive linemen, if you're smart, when you feel yourself getting pushed back, all you have to do is bend down. That is clearly you being overpowered to be getting pushed back like that. But it's more difficult to push a guy when he's going low on you. So you bend down some and then proceed to block the guy as opposed to standing up getting pushed
Yeah, so
back.
you lower your upper body is what you're
Yes.
saying, correct?
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense because once a person puts you on skates, and I call them skates or a
Mhm.
sled because
He
we used
was
to
on ice
practice
skates,
against a
too.
sled.
Yeah.
Technically, you're being pushed back, and a lot of
Against your
times it
will.
happens so fast.
Yeah,
You
but if
can't
you against
control
your
it.
will, you can't control it if you're standing
Yeah.
up. But think about something. Even if you was pushing a sled, you can't push a sled standing up. You have to get in 3/4 stance and then push it low, because that's where your power lies, with your hips and your quads and your lower body pushing it. But if you're standing doing it, you're not getting that strength that you need to move forward. All of your strength is in your legs and in your hips, and you'll stop a guy from pushing you around like that.
Yeah. So Najee, let me ask you this question. Let me go into the numbers right now and look at the two quarterbacks. So you had Sam Darnold. Technically, he had a decent game. So here, 19 out of 38 for 202 yards. Because now let me add a little context to that. When you have that type of number in a Super Bowl, I'm just going to say in any game, let alone a Super Bowl, that means your running game is functioning. Would you say so, Najee? Because he had 1 TD, no interceptions, and he had a 53% QBR, which is kind of low, but the running game subbed for that, right?
Yeah, the running game, that it made up for his lack of his passing, because if you think about it, 19 of 38 that's 50%. 50% in throwing the ball is actually is like below average for a quarterback to be throwing, because that's actually low. If that was basketball, if you're shooting 19 of 38, you're shooting the ball good. But in football, if you're passing, I think anything under 60% is considered low when it comes to passing completions in football.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with all of that said, it takes me over to Drake May. And Drake May had a better game. Drake May, 27 out of 43 for 295 yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions, though. The 2 interceptions kind of hurt those numbers.
Yeah, 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles.
And 2 fumbles. So he had a 16.3 QBR, which wasn't great at all. And then if you look at the receivers, let's look at the receivers for New England. Mac Hollins, 4 receptions for 78 yards, 20-yard average that he was catching. And then you had Diggs that had 3 receptions for 37 yards with 12, technically 12 yards per catch, which kind of really hurt, the passing game a lot. But that revolved back to Drake May not having a lot of time, too. Because those receivers have to run, they have to break into their route.
Yeah, 3 receptions, and he only had 1 the first 3 quarters. So that means the last 40, that's when he got those 2. So a lot of times that those stats don't really make up for what he really did, because I mean, he got that during garbage time when it was already considered getting blown out.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And he
Mhm.
was clearly frustrated too, man. Diggs was frustrated. He was upset that he couldn't get his hands on the ball more often, man. I mean, when they were
He
showing
wanted
him
to be
on the
more involved.
sideline, yeah, but he couldn't be involved when your quarterback is running for his life. So that's one thing you gotta factor in. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't see on the other side with Seattle doing any better when it came to the passing game because I'm looking here.
Yeah, but they running back was the
But they're
MVP,
running back,
DC.
and that's who we're
That's
going to
the
get to
reason why.
next. Kenneth
Yeah.
Walker III. We're going to get
Mm-hmm.
to him. He's the most valuable player of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like Cooper Kupp had 6 receptions for 61, and he's a possession receiver. I'll say it again. The Rams should have never parted company with Cooper Kupp, in my opinion. A lot of people might not agree with that, but I think that the Rams should have kept him, even with them bringing in Devontae Adams. For them to have Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Devontae Adams would have been extremely dangerous for the Rams, but they let him go, and he ended up with Seattle. And you had A.J. Barner, who had 4 receptions for 54 yards. Shaheed, 2 receptions for 27 yards. And Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I thought was going to win that battle against Christian Gonzalez. And he had an ankle injury as well. He had an aggravating ankle that was bothering him, on top of him having a concussion. At least he went into concussion protocol in the game,
Okay.
and they
Yeah.
cleared him to play. But he ended up having 4 for 27, 6.8 yards on average. So, I mean, the defensive backs on both sides of the ball held well. They held up pretty well because it was such a defensive battle. And in the first and second quarters, New England was getting in there and getting on Sam Darnold as well. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah, yeah, he did. They definitely
Sam
did
Darnold
because
had to scramble around a little bit to get out of the way.
both was struggling that first half. That's the difference was Kenneth Walker, and he was able to get them closer to get field goals because they wasn't scoring touchdowns. They only scored 1 touchdown the whole game. So if you let them go do 1 touchdown, I think they also had they had a fumble that got a touchdown. So they had a special team, and they had that 1 touchdown. That's 14 points right there out of that 20, what they had, 29. So it could have been a lot closer than what it was if it wasn't for that. If it wasn't for field goals, what Patriots did not get, and the special teams touchdown, nah, they would have been done.
That's true. That's true.
That's complete difference in the game.
And here's the thing, guys, that I firmly believe in. The Patriots were still in this game until basically the last, I would say, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Late into the fourth quarter, they still, with that score that they were able to score on that late score was a big deal. And I had people, because I was at a Super Bowl party and they were concerned. I said, don't worry about it. Seattle's going to get it handled. They're not going to come back on Seattle. But these people were really concerned that the Patriots did have a chance to come back and at least get closer with the score than it actually turned out. Because to me,
they were the only one scoring touchdowns because they was the only one scoring touchdowns at the time. Because really the only scores the Seahawks was getting was straight field goals. They wasn't getting in the end zone. So that's what made them have some type of hope that they could come back and win.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
One thing was a turning point too. It would have been a clear blowout if had they called that holding penalty back when Walker ran and bust that long run. That would have been a dagger in their heart earlier.
Well, they would have broke the game open with that one.
That thing was something else, man. He couldn't believe it, but he seen that open space. And I love him as a runner, man, because he's so patient, DC and Najee. I watch him just stutter step like he was tipping in the backfield several times till he seen a little crease and he burst through that hole, man. And I was like, wow, I see why this guy slowly but surely will keep that chain moving, because he always await until things move and the line move, open a small crease for him to run through there, and he pick up 5, 6, 7 yards off every carry because he's so patient and he let his linemen do their job, man. And even when there's nothing there, he'd take it off around the corner. You know how many times that defensive end lost contain and let him turn that corner around there when you could have very easily pushed his little short ass out of bounds and they let him turn the corner? I said, wow. They failed to stop him from turning that corner. And also, when you do that, your defense is getting worn out because you chased this guy. You kept finding yourself chasing this little running back. And then ultimately, they got down the field to kick a field goal out of it. Every time they just kept kicking field goals and adding more points onto it. They wasn't scoring touchdown, but they were stockpile with field goals, man. The next thing you know, it was over 20 points. They had 20-7 with just field goals alone. They were just kicking field goals. So,
Exactly. So you're currently watching the DC Stewart Show podcast live along with McKen Folk, Isaiah Najee. We're currently live on YouTube and Facebook. And we have some visitors. We welcome Freebird Tony. He's dropped a comment. He can't stay with us long today. Welcome, Freebird. We always appreciate you. But we have a visitor and goes by the name of Rudy the Boxer 101. And his comment was, give me your take on why it was so terrible, because I didn't think it was that bad, other than it was just one of them low scoring games from my perspective, where you had a defensive matchup and a defensive struggle of button heads. So anytime you have that, you're not going to have a lot of scoring going on, and we're just trying to kind of pick your brain. Rudy the Boxer 101. We're just trying to pick your brain to find out. And he also stated that NBA sucks, NFL sucks, Major League Baseball sucks. So it's all professional sports. He's not, discriminating against any professional sport. And maybe he does have his reasons for it.
Well, let me I think these sports suck. Tell them to start watching boxing or tennis, because then you got one person to complain about. These are team sports. Everyone you just mentioned is a team sport. If you got an issue with these things, and I think some of the stuff has lost their mojo a tad, but I don't think it's gone all the way, because if you just understand the eyeballs that was on this game nationwide and worldwide, it was a lot of folks. So it might be your standard of sport living, but if you think about it, the NBA has expanded all around the world. The NFL trying to catch up with the NBA, and when in terms of how many people. I just watched a segment a couple nights ago, clear across the United States. The younger people who's getting involved with football. I'm talking about an Indian tribe have their own football team, and that was unheard of. So the fact that you think these sports are suck, they're not sucking in terms of the popularity of it, man. The NFL makes more money than every sport.
And the NFL make more money than some foreign governments, by the way.
Of course they do.
Budget-wise.
He's got to watch some individuals. Go watch badminton or pickleball or something like that, or boxing or tennis. Because you can complain about one person, because that one person that controls his own destiny. Go watch figure skating. Go do that.
Yeah, you got some good points there. And he says if we have eyeballs, that's why the game was terrible. If you have eyeballs, you know why the game was terrible. So maybe, I respect his opinion, though. We all do.
Yeah, everybody's got their own
That's why
opinion.
we want everybody's different outlook and take on everything.
Gave him an alternative too.
Absolutely. And like you said, if those sports don't, tickle your fancy, there's always so many other sports. The good thing about living in the world today, we have world sports, we have sports in the US, we have all different types of sports that you can actually look at. And if it's just professional sports, that's understandable too, because college is different. So maybe college is looked at as in a different light. Who knows? So let's get to this most valuable player thing. I want to talk about Kenneth Walker III. Kenneth Walker III, he's originally from Tennessee. He started out at Wake Forest. And Kenneth Walker III, he was a very exceptional athlete because it showed in the Super Bowl. He's a very shifty runner. Did you notice how he's that type of runner where you can kind of try to get a good shot on him, and maybe you can come up and grab him, but he's one of them slippery type of runners. What do you think about that, Najee?
Well, he definitely is. Not only he's slippery and he's very shifty, but he's also patient. A lot of times, like I know me and my father, we don't. I mean, I adapted that from him. We don't like people that tip and then continue tipping behind the line, and the next thing you know, they lost 3-4 yards. But the thing is,
Yeah,
he's really patient enough to see where open it is, and he freaking blow
Mhm.
right through it, bro, which is crazy because you don't really get that in the NFL right now. Like you won't have the people that tip and get knocked over, or do you have people that just run right into their own
yeah,
lineman? He's patient enough to
yeah,
see exactly what he needs to execute and goes right through it with no problem.
yeah,
That's right. And he had one of them obstacles in his life that he at Arlington High School, because he went to Arlington High School in Tennessee. He played a game. It says here, entering his senior year at Arlington High, he woke up. Kenneth Walker III woke up struggling to breathe. And he went to the emergency room, and I guess he had blood clots in his lungs.
yeah,
And that's a deadly situation right there. Anytime you have blood clots that's got something to do with anything respiratory, it can kill you. It can take you off this planet really fast. So for him to overcome that and be told, at least at that time, that there's a possibility he might not play anymore, it's just last night was just, I'm sure he was into the stratosphere with his achievements and accomplishments leading up to getting the most valuable player last night, because he earned every yard of it and he earned every bit of the votes to become
yeah.
most valuable player in that game, because he made the difference for Seattle, I think,
Hmm. He
right, on
did.
offense.
Yeah, yep. Uh,
And with all of that said, it couldn't have happened to a better guy, because I remember watching him at Michigan State. So he went to Wake, he transferred to Michigan State in the portal, and he did really well at Michigan State. I mean, I watched games with him against Michigan, several other Big Ten teams, where he was able to really run really well against great defenses, not good defenses, but great defenses, where that other defense was actually winning the line of scrimmage. And he still was able to parlay himself into getting yards and helped his team win some of those games, because Michigan State wasn't great that year. I remember they came to Miami and they beat Miami in Hard Rock. Remember, they came down there. I think that was the last year that Mel Tucker coached. I want to say, and Mel Tucker had shorts walking up and down the sideline. I remember that very well when they were at Miami.
yeah.
So, what do you think? What do you think, Najee, that Kenneth Walker did that made him stick out from the rest, other than the fact that he gained, and it's right here, it looks like he gained 27 carries for 135 yards. That's pretty good in a Super Bowl, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's awesome in the Super Bowl, especially when the defense
When you
is
run it
stopping
against a
everything
defense
else.
like the
When the
Patriots, right?
defense is stopping everything else, and you're able to do something like that, and that's not even including the reception yards he got, because I'm pretty sure he
Yeah.
got between 50 to 60 yards in reception yards too. So I mean, he was
And we
executing
talking about
everything that they need him to do. Everything they need him to do, he was knocking down. So, bro, I mean, he was the X factor of their game.
and
No, the
that
two
He
S
was
the
too.
best thing
the one
that happened
that
for the
got called
Seahawks
back too.
was their kicker and their runner. That was the best thing that
Yeah.
happened for the
Those were the
Seahawks
two
last night.
best players on the team
Yeah.
last
So,
night. Yeah, right.
so if Kenneth Walker didn't get the MVP, the kicker was gonna get the MVP, because that's the best thing that happened for them last night.
I totally
Well,
agree.
and that's
And
the some of those penalties that those balls called back. As a runner, you always will want to have a good game like that. But at the same time, when I played, I used to tell my linemen, don't hold him, because maybe I'll run his ass over or stiff arm him or something like that where we won't get a penalty. And see that burst of one of that play that he made the touchdown, I can clearly see that hole. I seen that lineman grab the shoulder pads of the defender, and he burst right through that same hip that he was on the left hand side hip, and he was out of there. But who knows? As strong as this guy legs are, because it always take quite a few guys to bring him down too. and he spins and he pushes and he fights for every yard he gets. So he may have got a substantial amount of yards out of that play anyway, or he probably still ran a touchdown hadn't they pulled that holding call on him. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so true. Just think and kind of venturing back to the Super Bowl that Seattle lost to the Patriots. If Darrell Bevel, who was the offensive coordinator at the time, would have gave the ball to beast mode,
Mm-hmm.
they would have had 3 trophies in their case. Would you say so?
That would have definitely happened. Yeah.
Because let me
was
just
tough
say
for them to
one
live that
thing.
down.
Let me just say one thing. I have never, ever seen a play where beast mode went backwards or he didn't gain a yard.
Mm-hmm.
And they were on the goal line, correct,
Yeah.
Najee? They were on the goal
remember
line.
that.
Help me
Yeah,
understand.
Yeah, there was 1
And
yard.
Darrell Bevel,
They did
and
it 1
I'm not
yard.
trying to go back to throw any shade on Pete Carroll and Darrell Bevel. They made the decision, at least Bevel did, and I think Pete Carroll took the heat and backed it, for him to go ahead and try to make Russell Wilson the hero of the game instead of just punching that thing in, because New England, if you need a yard and you got beast mode back there, ain't no way in the world he wasn't going to get that 1 yard for you.
So question. So one thing, DC, I'm gonna tell you right now. So you don't think Pete Carroll he over loves his cornerbacks then?
Well,
I
he
walked
could have had
myself
a
into that one, but
vendetta against Beast Mode because Beast Mode
No,
was pissed.
he did. He did. But what I'm saying is he didn't want Beast Mode to be the savior of that Super Bowl. But then he wants to.
That's what I'm saying.
then-
he would rather
then he
freaking lose the game.
But then he wants to put
Because
his
he
job in
played
jeopardy.
Russian roulette.
But then he want to keep his job in jeopardy and keep your boy that I don't like, Geno Smith.
okay, so here's what I got.
So that tells you right now that Pete Carroll he over loves his quarterbacks, man.
And you're talking about Geno Smith in reference to what got
Exactly.
fired out of the
But
Raiders,
what
right?
I'm saying is instead of doing what's best, because I'm pretty sure he's a smart coach. Instead of him doing what's best for his team to win, he overloves his quarterback. And he's going to go against his better judgment.
Yeah.
Well, he was so certain that they would get that 1 yard, Najee. That's what he was. But you don't chance it, man. When you got
the certainty is when it was first and goal. Even if Beast Mode didn't get it the first time, he still had 2-3 more chances to get 1 yard. That 1 yard is 3 feet.
Yeah.
But okay.
But see, that's the thing with me. You really don't take chances and stuff like that, man. You go where your strength lies, and Beast Mode was the one who would get those few yards for you, and they opted not to give him the ball. And he took a lot of flack from that, man. People was pissed for a long time because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, here's how I think it unfolded, and I don't want to get too far away from last night's Super Bowl versus that Super Bowl that they lost against the Patriots. But even Tom Brady on the sideline, you could see the expression on his face that if they would have gave that ball off, New England wasn't going to have time to come back. He just wasn't going to have enough time to drive down the field. Darrell Bevel called the plays. Usually an offensive coordinator calls the plays. Usually a head coach never overrules an offensive coordinator in most cases on a call, from what I understand about how it works. Now, it may be different. Now, the offensive coordinator say, look, coach, I'm going to run this play, and we're going to do a quick slant in to see if we can get a quick slant done instead of running it up the middle, because maybe we fear that the middle might be too congested and we might not be able to get it. That's how I'm looking at it. Now, Najee, as far as your point for quarterbacks, Pete Carroll does love his quarterbacks. He loved Russell Wilson, and he obviously really he thought a lot of Geno Smith as well. So, we just wanted to kind of put that out there that Seattle possibly could have had 3 trophies, including the one from last night. And by the way, our friend Rudy the Boxer 101, technically we're telling him that we appreciate the fact that you're here, sir. We like when you come and debate with us and stuff.
Feelings, man.
And there's no hard feelings about, everybody's opinion. At least I don't take it that way.
Rudy the Boxer, tell your friend, your family, and your coworkers and your colleagues and the haters. Tell them to come on and watch us too, man. And maybe you'll get some entertainment out this system.
And there was nothing personal about Isaiah saying that you need to watch individual sports or anything like that.
No,
we just want to clarify and clear the air And stay with us, bro, because we want your opinion into this. This is what we're talking about as far as this Super Bowl goes. So let's talk a little bit about the commercials. Which commercial stuck out to you guys the most?
Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, personally, that was the one that was dear to me. Is the farmer. Man, when the farmer with his daughter with those Lay's potato chips and those potatoes, that did it for me. It really did it to me, man. When you think of how hardcore a farmer has to be through seasons, because it ain't nothing guaranteed. There's nothing guaranteed. It could be the weather, it could be your health, it could be your machines. All those things got to come into play as a farmer. Yeah, and pests. And not only even just pests, you take it because we own a bunch of farm stuff, DC, and the fact that um you can have wild animals like boars that go in there and wreck your and mess your fields up, man. Whether it's collard greens or it's corn or it's watermelons, it could be wrecked by a group of wild boars can just trample through that stuff and just wreck your whole entire field. So I was touched by that, man. And then to see the little girl grow up to a nice young lady, and he showed her the ropes growing up as a little young girl and to become an adult to take over that thing. It was special. I loved it. Yeah. That's my favorite.
How about you, Najee? Which was your favorite commercial? And I'll tell you mine after the fact because Freebird Tony did comment which was his favorite as well.
The Jurassic Park one. 'Cause I used to like Jurassic Park a lot, so the way how they AI'd it and kind of switched it up a little bit, I thought that was very creative. I like the Jurassic Park one.
Yeah, you're talking about with Jeff Goldblum and the two stars of Jurassic Park back when it was really hot and when it came out, right?
Yeah, I think what 1993 or something like that.
Yeah, I thought that one
neat.
was really good as well. But I like the one with the bird. And Tony seems to like the one with the bird as well. Freebird, the free bird with the horse, I believe it was. Basically, that was a Freebird commercial where a bird was left to die on the ground. I mean, a Tweety bird. This is like a newborn bird, and this horse came to the rescue. Did you guys remember that commercial?
I don't recite that at all.
That one was a good one.
Maybe it wasn't
and it was
a
so it was a Budweiser commercial. Let me be clear. It was a Budweiser commercial, and it showed how this bird and this horse, technically grew up together, and the bird became an eagle at the very end of the commercial, in a way. So I really appreciated that one. I couldn't say enough about that one, as well as the Jurassic Park one as well. I thought the beginning of the Super Bowl was cool. I thought with the national anthem.
Yeah, and I love that. Yeah, I really like the national anthem and America the Beautiful. I thought that was real.
And America the Beautiful was a beautiful one, man. It was so moving and touching to me.
You know, back in the day, Ray Charles sang that, and man, it played in my head every time I hear somebody else sing it. Yeah, when Ray Charles sung it, it was extraordinary. Yeah.
Yeah, you always and I didn't get the benefit because we were stuck in traffic for at least an hour trying to get to where we were going to the party. So I actually watched it on, DirecTV on my phone while we were in the car.
Yeah.
And I was able to see the national anthem. And it was just, to me, it was so moving because, I come from a family of military. I come from a military family just as well as you as well, Isaiah. You came from a military family as well. So we know how to appreciate what it means to hear that national anthem and what it means to this country and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So last but not least, would you guys think that last night that the people who were betting on this game won a lot of money?
Hell yeah, they did. Because I know everybody voted for Seattle, man. There's a guy, I don't know how true it was because it was said on one of those social media where he was always a Seattle fan, and he took every dime out of his bank account, which was $30,000, and betted it all. And he was saying that he was going to be homeless if he lost, but he put it in the work, and then he showed the little ticket where he did purchase this bet for $30,000. So he made off. Yeah.
So that FanDuel thing too, because I've never really gotten into the gambling piece of sports with, all of these different apps and these different platforms and stuff.
Neither have I. I mean,
right.
Only time I would throw a couple bucks at something was when the damn lottery go to $1 billion, and I say, oh, what the hell? Let me just try this thing. But if it ain't $1 billion, I don't even think about it. I will go in there and get my freaking gas out of the gas station and get going. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So let's talk a little bit about the food. What did you guys eat yesterday? I mean, what was on the agenda for food for the Super Bowl? And how did you prepare it?
Oh man, I prepared it by marinating these ribs, these beef ribs and turkey and chicken several days before it kicked off, so that those combined seasonings could marinate over a span of a day. And then of course I put it to work after that. And then I had crab salad, I had baked beans and corn and check this out, guys. I washed that thing out down with a Pepsi.
Hey, you know what? I didn't drink soda. At all. So I could say I'm proud of myself for not doing that.
But DC, I have not drinking like sodas in a long time.
Quite a while,
man.
Right?
Yeah, but I had to do that thing because I said I was going. But that was my only meal though. I didn't eat anything but that one meal yesterday. I throw it down, but that was the only thing I had. I didn't have breakfast or lunch, any of that stuff. So I didn't eat as much as I thought I was going to eat, man. But whatever we prepared, I knocked it down. But other than that, I just ate for dinner. I didn't eat any lunch or breakfast, but that Pepsi was hitting, man. It was. So I'm back to normal now. Today I'm back to normal.
Same here. I'm going to go work out after we complete these two shows we're going to do. By the way, we're going to be doing our radio show coming up next. We're going to be doing a live radio show, WDCS Live, talking about different, the Super Bowl halftime and several other subjects and topics that we're going to be discussing. So you might want to stay around and join us for that. I'm gonna close out with asking Najee, what did you eat, and did you wash your stuff down with a Coke as well or a Pepsi?
No, I don't drink sodas. The only time I drink sodas is to try new flavors, and that's at a funeral or like a family reunion. That's it. I don't drink sodas. I'll leave the sodas to Isaiah. Now what I ate,
I gave him up to
drink.
I gave him up.
Drink, DC.
But I didn't say just Pepsi. I said sodas. I don't drink sodas.
Yeah, but you think Pepsi in particular is an old man drink, man. And I'm gonna tell you right now,
it is old and great.
The only people that drink Pepsi, the only people that drink Pepsi is people 50 and over. That's it. I don't drink Pepsi.
That's crazy.
I definitely don't drink that.
Something. You are so lost, man. I've got a new generation of people drinking Pepsis now. You just start hanging around me and you see when we have like a gathering, you got to see how many people knock down them Pepsis now. You wrong. You wrong.
All right.
And so go ahead and drink your sweet and low.
So I had some lasagna from Goodfellas, and I marinated some wings and I air fried them. So I had that. Then I had some pineapple juice from the produce area. It was like actual cold pressed pineapple juice, and I washed it down with some whiskey.
Oh, so
you my kind of guy. Yeah. But let me bring one thing to your attention now. How much sugar was in that pineapple juice? Would you just guess?
I'm pretty sure it was a lot.
Probably about 46, 47 or more grams of sugar, right?
But the thing is, it wasn't. But it was cold pressed though, so it's not like it's added. It's not like it's added sugar though. But it was pretty good though.
That was a cheat day, y'all. You know that,
It
DC.
was.
Well, we
You
all
didn't
know,
worry
yeah,
about
and,
that.
It
and
was
I'm not,
it was special
I'm
event,
not
of
bashing
course.
Najee for drinking the cold pressed pineapple juice. I have
Yeah,
no issue with that whatsoever.
yeah, that
Yesterday
was
was a
our
cheat
cheat
day
day.
for me
Yeah,
as well. You know,
Hmm.
I ate quesadillas. I ate like maybe 4 or 5 quesadillas in a row because I was super hungry
You see now
from the
I'm
morning.
drinking Fiji water now. So come
Fiji
on now.
water, yeah. And you see,
Exactly.
I have my Arrowhead here all the time, right
yeah.
in front of me, along with my coffee. So I drank some red wine yesterday, and I ended up drinking a shot of the best tequila you ever want to drink. You can turn it up and it goes down and it doesn't burn or nothing. It just goes down and you can immediately feel the effect in your bloodstream of that particular tequila. That was the only shot that I had because I wasn't going to drink anymore and get tanked up because I had to make sure me and my wife got home safely. So I wanted to make sure of that. But the um the quesadillas was awesome. There was 4 different types of meat. 3 types were types of beef, quality wise, and and carne asada style meat. And then you had chicken, and the chef who was making them was just superb. He was making some of the best um, chicken quesadillas that I've ever eaten. So I just wanted to let everybody know that it was a cheat day for me. And then I ate a little bit of, you know, birthday cake because they did have a birthday party at the Super Bowl party yesterday. So I ate a couple of slices of that cake. So I'm right back on point now, ready to rock and roll, ready to keep my quest of getting down to where I want to be by the summertime because all
Yeah.
of my clothes are fitting now. All of the vests that I had that was super tight a few months ago are not tight anymore. This vest right
Mm.
here in particular used to be super tight. I couldn't button it all the way up, but now I can button it up. So
Yeah, but let me put the family and the viewers up on some game. We're all in a quest for losing weight and get trimmed off and get healthy, everybody.
exactly.
When they see us 6 months from now, they was like, damn, if they was on Ozempic and all that, and nah, we're not on that. We're eating right and we're working out. So it's going to gradually come off. So if you see us in another couple months and you start seeing this drastic weight loss, this is what we're doing. Everybody who's
Absolutely.
listening, yeah, yep,
Absolutely. And we will be around, especially when football summer camps start.
no
We're going to
doubt,
have a live coverage of the NFL draft. We did it last year. We're going to do it again this year.
yeah,
Um, we'll have Jersey mics like we did last year, and we'll just sit and watch the first round on
yeah.
into, the finish of the first round because
Yeah,
that's usually the first
and
full day.
also for the fitness gurus out there, we're gonna film some of our workout regimens and post that and let y'all see how we doing it. You know, the
Exactly.
calisthenics, the runs, the power walks, the weightlifting and all that type of stuff. And what we're doing now is, and for me only, I'm speaking only me. I have 25-pound dumbbells and I have 10-pound dumbbells, and what you do is you take them suckers and start doing like you're throwing punches, and man, your shoulders are burned like crazy. Shoulders, neck, everything will be torn when you get done with these exercises. So that's what's going down, y'all. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this closes our show, and we will be doing our radio show next, WDCS Live, along with my 2 Ken folks, and I'm so happy to see them on a Monday morning. Every day you wake up above ground is so important that you take care of your health. Just stress that. If you're eating wrong, try to start eating right. If you're drinking wrong, start trying to drink right. And water is the number one source of good health, I think. Anything beyond water, you might be putting yourself out there and putting yourself on the line. But anytime you dealing with water, especially pure, clean water, filtered water, you good. And Fiji water is that water that comes from the mountains. It's natural. Najee just showed that as
Man.
well. So make sure you drink a lot of water, eat right, get the right amount of rest because rest does make a difference as well. We'll be doing this thing again, and stay tuned for WDCS Live along with McKen Folk, Isaiah and Najee. This is the DC Stewart Show podcast live, and we are checking out. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Peace, love, and prosperity. Take it easy. See you soon.
This is the DC Stewart Show. Real sports debate. No ESPN scripts. Spinner approved.